My roommate tucked his hands in the pockets of the argyle sweater vest he always wore under his blazer. Through a moth hole, I watched his right thumb wriggle in excitement. Because the party tonight is at Lawrence Hall, and Lena is throwing it because her sister always ships her vodka, and you know who Lena rooms with. He waggled his eyebrows. At that, I finally had to close my book. Don't tell me you're trying to set me up with your soulmate? I must have looked violent because Tom put two very serious hands on my shoulders. I'm not trying, he said, enunciating each word, to set you up with Charlotte. I'm trying to get you drunk. Charlotte and Lena had set up camp down in the Lawrence Hall basement. As Tom had promised, it wasn't hard to get past the hall mother. Each dorm had one, in addition to our army of RAs, an older woman from town who oversaw her students from the front desk. They sorted mail, arranged for birthday cakes, lent an ear when you were homesick, but they also enforced the hall rules. Lawrence's was famous for sleeping on the job. The party was in the basement kitchen. Though it was stocked with plates and pots and even a spindly 4-burner stove, the pans were all so dented they looked like they'd been worn to war. Tom squeezed against the stove while I shut the door behind us. Within seconds, one of the knobs rubbed a half-moon of grease onto his sweater vest. The girl next to him smiled thinly and turned back to her friends, a tumbler of something dangling from her hand. There had to be at least 30 people in there, packed in shoulder to shoulder. Grabbing my arm, Tom began shouldering us to the back of the tiny kitchen. I felt like I was being pulled through a dark, dank wardrobe into some boozy Narnia. That's the weird towny dealer, he whispered to me. He's selling drugs. That's Governor Schumer's son. He's buying drugs. Great, I said, only half listening. And those two girls, they summer in Italy. Like they use summer as a verb. Their dads run an offshore drilling operation. I raised an eyebrow. What? I'm poor. I notice these things. Right. If it was a joke, it was a lame one. Tom might have had a hole in his sweater vest, but back in our room he also had the smallest, thinnest laptop I'd ever seen. You're poor. Comparatively speaking. Tom dragged me along behind him. You and me, we're upper middle class. We're peasants. The party was loud and crowded, but Tom was determined to drag me all the way to the far wall. I didn't know why, until a strange voice curled up through the cigarette smoke. The game is Texas Hold'em, it said, hoarse but with a bizarre wild precision, like a drunk Greek philosopher orating at a bacchanal. And the buy-in tonight is $50. Or your soul, chirped another voice, a normal one, and the girls in front of us laughed. Tom turned to grin at me. That one's Lena, and that one's Charlotte Holmes. The first I saw of her was her hair, black and glossy and straight down to her shoulders. She was leaning forward over a card table to pull in a handful of chips, and I couldn't see her face. This wasn't important, I told myself. It wasn't a big deal if she didn't like me. So what if, somewhere, back 100 years and change and across the Atlantic Ocean, some other Watson made best friends with some other Holmes? People became best friends all the time. There were surely best friends at this school. Dozens. Hundreds. Even if I didn't have one. She sat up, all at once, with a wicked smile. Her brows were startling dark lines on her pale face, and they framed her gray eyes, her straight nose. She was altogether colorless and severe, and still she managed to be beautiful. Not the way that girls are generally beautiful, but more like the way a knife catches the light, makes you want to take it in your hands. Dealer goes to Lena, she said, turning away from me, and it was only then that I placed her accent. I was forcibly reminded that she was from London, like me. For a moment, I felt so homesick, I thought that I'd make an even worse show of myself and throw myself at her feet, beg her to read me the phone book in that extravagant voice that had no business coming out of...